Om Jnana Timirantasya Jnanam Jana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Be fixed so that the dirty things in a person's mind can be removed apart. The dirty things in the heart of a conditioned soul are the root cause of all troubles for him. A conditioned soul is surrounded by the manifold miseries of material existence, but on account of his gross ignorance he is unable to remove the troubles due to dirty things in the heart, accumulated during the long prison life in the material world. He is actually meant to serve the will of the Supreme Lord, but on account of the dirty things in the heart, he likes to serve his concocted desires. These desires, instead of giving him any peace of mind, create new problems and thus bind him to the cycle of repeated birth and death. These dirty things of fruitive work and empiric philosophy can be removed only by association with the Supreme Lord. The Lord, being omnipotent, can offer his association by his inconceivable potencies. Thus, persons who are unable to pin their faith on the personal feature of the Absolute are given a chance to associate with his Virata Roop, or the cosmic impersonal feature of the Lord. This cosmic impersonal feature of the Lord is a feature of his unlimited potencies. Since the potent and potencies are identical, even the conception of his impersonal cosmic feature helps the conditioned soul to associate with the Lord indirectly and thus gradually rise to the stage of personal contact. Maharaj Parikshit was already directly connected with the personal feature of the Lord, Sri Krishna, and as such he had no need to inquire from Shukadeva Goswami about where and how to imply the mind in the impersonal Virat Roop of the Lord. But he inquired after a detailed description of the matter for the benefit of others who are unable to conceive of the transcendental personal feature of the Lord as the form of eternity, knowledge and bliss. The non-devotee class of men cannot think of the personal feature of the Lord. Because of their poor fund of knowledge, the personal form of the Lord, like Rama or Krishna, is completely revolting to them. They have a poor estimation of the potency of the Lord. In the Bhagavad-gita, it is explained by the Lord himself that people with a poor fund of knowledge deride the Supreme Personality of Godhead, taking him to be a common man. Such men are ignorant of the inconceivable potency of the Lord. By the inconceivable potency of the Lord, he can move in human society or any other society of living beings and yet remain the same omnipotent Lord without deviating in the slightest from his transcendental position. So, for the benefit of men who are unable to accept the Lord in his personal eternal form, Maharaj Parikshit inquired from Shukadeva Goswami how to fix the mind on him in the beginning, and the Goswami replied in detail as follows. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 1, Text 22. Rajavacha, the king says, Prabhupada translates as the fortunate king. Prabhupada has had a little commentary now. Fortunate. What's so fortunate? Cursed to die within 7 days. What's fortunate about that? People generally perform pious activities for the sake of invoking good fortune, such as long life. A woman especially would want to die before her husband, so that she doesn't become a widow, which is considered very inauspicious. Or if she dies after him, then she will perform sati, which is illegal to talk about in this country. They've declared it illegal even to speak about it in a favorable manner. Fortunate, good fortune means you will have a long life. Usually when a child is blessed, it's Ayushman Bhava. May you have a long life. Have you heard this? May you have a long life. But here you see Maharaj Parikshit, short life. He's cursed to die within 7 days. And how is he fortunate? He's fortunate because he came in contact with Shukadeva Goswami. That's his good fortune. Of course, good fortune to be born in such a good family, the family of the Pandavas, grandson of Arjuna. So from his childhood, he was engaged in Krishna Bhakti. Actually, it's not that everyone who's born in a good family is necessarily good. You find that, if you find the dynasties described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, just like Kams was the uncle of Krishna, Shishupal was the cousin of Krishna. So they were all demons, although they were in the same family. But generally it's hoped that being born in a devotee's family, one would be a devotee. Not necessarily that one would be a devotee. That's another misconception. There's the Jat Gosais in Bengal, especially, you'll find they're born in the family that descended from a great associate of Lord Chaitanya, or a disciple of a great associate. They therefore style themselves as Nityananda Pariba, Nityananda Vangsha, Advaita Pariba, Gadadha Pariba, even though Gadadha was a brahmachari, lifelong brahmachari, but some disciple of his, and then after that they started. Narottam Pariba, Narottam also lifelong brahmachari. It was started with some descendant of his, became the founder of the Narottam Pariba. So then their children all became gurus, Jat Gosai. And then so many of them are eating fish, which means they've become rakshasas, they become demons, flesh eaters. Nowadays we find in ISKCON also that children born to parents of ISKCON devotees often think that they have some kind of right to live off the income that accrues to ISKCON simply because they're born in some family. But actually that's not a fact. Anyone who lives in the temple of ISKCON should be fully engaged in the service of the Lord, not just that because you're born in such and such a family you have a right to eat and sleep and do whatever you like. So King Parikshit was fortunate because he was born in a fortunate family, and more fortunate because he took that up. He took up the bhakti. That was his family heritage. Greater than the family heritage of the Pandavas, greater than the family heritage of their being emperors of the world, was that they were pure devotees of Krishna. So Parikshit Maharaj took that up. In one purport, Prabhupada writes that there are two things very important for becoming a pure devotee of the Lord. One thing is to be born in a good family of devotees, and another thing is to get the blessings of a pure devotee. So mostly people in the modern age, they're not coming in good families, but at least they can join a good family. It means they can join the Sampradaya, transcendental family of pure devotees, and thus come in contact with pure devotees who can instruct them how to join. What is the ultimate aim? To join the family of Krishna in Golok Vrindavan. So Parikshit Maharaj was fortunate. He'd come in contact with Shukadeva Goswami, and he was making further inquiries. Shukadeva Goswami had practically given the essence of everything just in these few words he spoke to Parikshit Maharaj. He'd answered his question. What is the question? That what is the prime duty of a human being, and especially of someone who is about to die? So he already answered it. Shukadeva Goswami could have got up and gone. Okay, say you got 7 days, chant Hare Krishna. I'm going somewhere else. He could do that. But Parikshit Maharaj is asking him some question, capturing his attention. So Shukadeva Goswami is practically he's compelled to stay and answer the question if someone is inquiring about the absolute truth. So Parikshit Maharaj in this way is capturing him. Actually, Parikshit Maharaj, he basically understands what is Krishna consciousness from his childhood. It's the advantage of being born in such a family. But he's not simply taking it for granted that yes, I'm from a devotee family, but he wants to hear more from Shukadeva Goswami. So Shukadeva Goswami becomes enthusiastic to speak more. Otherwise, if the disciple is dull, sitting like a dull stone, with no interest in any philosophy, just yes, just like sometimes we used to hear, I'm a born Hindu, I know everything. So if our devotees also say, yes, I know everything, they know their brain is dull, nothing to think of. Become like, just like you see now in the rainy season, there are so many puddles of water formed. Out the back there's some big puddle of water. So it's stagnant, it becomes stagnant, it doesn't move. And so many mosquitoes are breeding there. So in the same way, if our consciousness is dull, we're not thinking about the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, and it's just sitting and becomes stagnant. And then so many nasty things will breed there. The mind should always be actively engaged in thinking how to serve Krishna, considering the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. It's not simply a ritual to sit in the class, or a ritual even to read the books, but one should be considering the philosophy. Shravan Manan Nididhyasana. The Upanishads recommend, after hearing, you should consider the subject matter. And then by considering it, so many realizations will come. Or maybe so many questions will come. So many questions will come, you can consider it. Krishna may reveal the answer within your mind, or you can bring it to your spiritual master or spiritual masters. Guru is one in one sense, but in another sense, Guru appears in many forms. Therefore we say, Vande Gurun, first words of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Vande Gurun. We offer our obeisances to all the Gurus. Vande Ham Shri Guru, I offer my obeisances to the Guru. Shriyata, who is endued with auspiciousness. Pada Kamalam, his lotus feet are endued with auspiciousness. Shri Gurun, and also to all the Gurus. So one has a specific Guru, but may have, or should have many Gurus. Shiksha. Guru's basic function is to teach. So those who teach, they are considered Gurus. So King Parikshit is inquiring further. He wants to know more about the details of what he's heard. The essence of what Shukadeva Goswami told to Parikshit Maharaj is this, that one should always hear about Krishna. I said that verse yesterday and then I'm not remembering. Tasmad Bharata Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishvaro Harihi Shrotavya Kirtitavyas Chat Smartavyas Chechata Bhayam. O descendant of King Bharat, one who desires to be free from all miseries must hear about, glorify, and also remember the personality of Godhead, who is the super soul, the controller, and the savior from all miseries. So that's the essence of what Shukadeva Goswami said. Now Parikshit wants to know more. Well, you said we should hear about him, so I'd like to hear. I mean, someone has to say. So why don't you tell us something about Krishna? Shukadeva Goswami is expert in the science of Krishna. Parikshit Maharaj knows that. So he wants him to elaborate more, to speak more. He referred to Tasmad Bharata Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishvaro Harihi. These different names. Sarvatma means the super soul of everybody. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ishvara, the controller. Hari, one who takes away all miseries. So, Parikshit Maharaj is inquiring in such a way, or at least Shukadeva Goswami is taking it like that who is that person? How should we understand that Bhagavan, who is the Purusha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Purush, Supreme Lord, who takes away Mano Malam, the dirty things in the heart. So he wants to inquire more. We should hear about him, all right. You said we should hear, so I'd like to hear. Please speak more. He's asking that, yes, you've said that we can be free from all misconceptions by getting the right conception of Hari. So please You speak something, even though Parikshit Maharaj was already directly connected with the personal feature of Lord Sri Krishna, nevertheless, Shukadeva Goswami explained impersonal feature, semi-personal feature, Paramatma, and ultimately the personal feature, so that others can also be benefited. Because not everyone is ready to hear about the personal feature of the Supreme Lord. It's very interesting. You'll find in Srimad Bhagavatam how sometimes Shukadeva Goswami, he speaks on a certain level, but Parikshit Maharaj inquires further and brings Shukadeva to a higher level. Here we'll find, first of all, Shukadeva is explaining, according to Parikshit Maharaj's inquiry, about, in the next few verses or the rest of the chapter, he will describe about the first step in God realization, which is impersonal understanding. Then he will come to semi-personal understanding and then to personal understanding. Similarly, later in the Bhagavatam, at the beginning of the 6th canto, we find Parikshit Maharaj inquiring from Shukadeva how the conditioned souls can be saved from hell, because at the end of the 5th canto, after describing all the different planetary systems, Shukadeva Goswami explains about the hellish worlds and concisely gives a description of the horrible punishments that conditioned souls have to undergo there. Some hellish punishment is going on. Demonstration. So, Parikshit Maharaj asked Shukadeva that, well, how can conditioned souls be freed from this? So Shukadeva, he said, they should perform prayaschita, atonement. This way they will get free from their simple reactions. But Parikshit Maharaj is very intelligent, and he said, oh, wait a minute, you perform atonement, but then you do sinful activities again. What is the value? You're going to go to hell, you're going to get caught sometime. There are so many instances in scripture. What to speak of sinful people, even very pious people, just by making a mistake, they can fall into a hellish condition. The great example is Mriga Maharaj, who performed practically unlimited pious activities, but by some mistake which was beyond his control, he had to suffer a horrible hellish condition. That is the nature of furtive activities. You can't help, however good you try to be, you can't help but commit some mistake. However, you see the Jain sadhus or sadhvis, they'll be sweeping the road in front of them so they don't tread on any ant, but by sweeping the ant they may harm or even kill it also. Where is the guarantee? It's very difficult. Practically you can't avoid in this material world to commit some violence, knowingly or unknowingly. So Parikshit Maharaj rejected the process of atonement given by Shukadeva Goswami. Then Shukadeva Goswami said, well, you should become a jnani. By knowledge, you will conquer over sinful reactions. But that's also stated in Gita, that by knowledge, the fire of knowledge destroys sinful reactions. But Parikshit Maharaj still wasn't fully satisfied. He said, there are many knowledgeable people that we see, also very knowledgeable people who nevertheless fail to control their senses and perform sinful activities. As stated in the Bhagavatam, also in Matra Swasra Vihitrava Nav Vikasa no Bhavet Bhalavan Indriya Gramo Vidvamsam Vikarshati. That one should not sit close, or Prabhupada translates alone with, even one's mother, sister or daughter, because the senses are so strong that even a learned person can be misled, can be disturbed. Now you may say, well, if someone is completely low class, you'll be attracted. Who's going to be attracted by his mother, or sister, or daughter? But Shastra says that even a learned person, he has got knowledge, he's studied, he's cultured, he may be attracted even by his own mother, sister or daughter. Can you imagine? So learning in itself is not we see so many examples of, practically the Shastra has got many examples of many learned and elevated people who became fallen. Not or they fell into sexual depravity. That is the nature of the material world. The senses are very, very strong. Even the examples are given of Brahma, Brihaspati, great saintly persons, highly elevated. You don't become Brahma just by a lottery. You don't win the Gujarat state lottery. Does Gujarat have a state lottery? Most states do. You don't win the state lottery and become Brahma or Brihaspati. After many, many pious activities, if you perform the activities of a Brahmana perfectly for 100 births, you can become Brahma. That means without any mistake. No mistake in pronunciation, no mistake. You see, so strict, the Smriti rules are so strict. When you do Acharana, you have to have 3 drops of water. 1 drop means it should be just the size of a till seed, sesame seed. If it's a little bigger or a little smaller, then it's not done properly. It should be exactly this, just enough water to cover 1 sesame seed. Not bigger, not smaller. If it's bigger or smaller, it's said to be equal to alcohol, to wine. So how much strict you have to be? Just like you see, Nriga, by a mistake beyond his control, that he was not even aware of, all his piety became spoiled. So it's very, very difficult to execute for 100 births the activities of Brahman without any mistake. But if you do, you can become Brahma. It's not any ordinary person. Only a very, very highly elevated person can become Brahma or Brihaspati. But even they, not that we're condemning, they're greatly elevated persons. But the examples are given in Shastra. Not that we will condemn Brahma, we are much, much tiny compared to Brahma. But just to show the example of how dangerous is the attraction of this material world. So then, Parikshit Maharaj, also rejecting that knowledge in and of itself is enough to become free from material contamination, encouraged Shukdev Goswami to come to the actual point of speaking how we can get free from all contaminations of this material world. Kechit kevalaya bhaktya vasudeva parayanaha agham dinbhanti kansnena niharameva bhasvara. He said that even though karma and jnana, they are not sufficient to purify oneself, even a slight awakening of pure devotional service can destroy all sinful reactions, just like fog. In the winter, there's the mist. So when the sun comes up, the sun immediately clears that away. Or in the darkness of night, it may be very dark, on the new moon day. In the city you don't see how, you don't know whether it's new moon or full moon because you have neon lights. But away from the city, where there are no lights, there's a lot of difference between new moon day and full moon day. Full moon, you can walk around at night, not in the rainy season when there are clouds, which also cover the moon. But full moon, you can see very clearly what's going on. You can walk around nicely. At the time of the new moon, it's black. And even your hand in front of your face, you can't see it. It's so dark. But so it may be so dark at night, but when the sun's, even before the sun rises, even Arun, the charioteer of the sun, he comes first because he's driving the sun, so the charioteer comes first. Arun gives a reddish color. At dawn is called Arun because it means the charioteer of the sun is coming first. So even that, even before the sun's rays have come, Just the fact that the sun is just now coming means the light, the darkness starts to clear away. So in the same way, by bhakti, by devotional service, all the inebrities of material life, they are uprooted from the roots. This was Parikshit Maharaj's question, that we may perform some atonement and prayaschitta, but the desire remains within the heart, that by pure devotional service, even the desires become taken away if one is actually performing devotional service. So in this way, Parikshit Maharaj encouraged Shukadeva to speak on higher and higher levels. Otherwise, not every guru will present the absolute truth in full to his disciple. Every guru may not know the absolute truth. There are many cheaters, that's one thing. But even if someone is a faithful follower of the Vedas, he may understand the absolute truth only as far as the impersonal teaching, and may teach his disciples that far. Most of the Upanishads we see are disciples approaching gurus, and they teach what is Brahman. But what is the impersonal Brahman? They don't teach knowledge of the supreme absolute truth, because they don't have it themselves. When we see in Gita, Arjuna asks Krishna, Kim tad Brahma kim adhyatma, kim karma purushottama. He asks, what is the absolute truth? What is spirit? So Krishna doesn't, of course, he explains, but he goes on to explain. He doesn't leave it just at some impersonal conception, but he goes on to explain what is the Purushottam, who is Purushottam, who is the Supreme Lord, who is beyond all other living beings. So one thing, the Guru himself may not understand what the absolute truth is, or even if he understands the absolute truth, he may find that his disciples are not fit to understand the absolute truth themselves. Therefore he teaches them on a level which is good for them. Just like you'll find in the New Testament, Lord Jesus, he is stating that there are many things I have to teach you, but you cannot understand. Whereas in Gita we find Sarvago yatanam bhuya shiname paramam vacha yatteham priyamanaya prakshami hitakamaya. Krishna says to Arjuna at the end of Gita, now I'm going to teach you the most confidential knowledge. Throughout Gita he says, now I'm teaching you confidential knowledge. Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam. This is the king of confidential knowledge. But at the end he says, Sarva Guru Yatanam. This is the most confidential knowledge. What is that? Always think of me, become my devotee, surrender to me, worship me, bow down before me. Do this and I'll bring you to me. I promise you this because you're my very dear friend. So this is ultimate. Nothing hidden. Nothing is hidden, but then again, maybe not everything has been revealed. Practically, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach the highest truth, which no one had taught before. Anarpita charin chirat kurunyapatino kalo samapiyatamanatadjvala rasasva bhakti shriyam. That which anarpita, that which was not offered in human society before, that which was not given before, at least for a very long time, I mean since Chaitanya Mahaprabhu last came, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach. That is the highest rasa of service to, ultimately to himself, because he is Sri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Mayam. So what exactly is that? Not everyone may be ready to understand. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't discuss these things with everybody. Practically he only, his own inner feelings, he only discussed, he discussed sometimes in groups of devotees, but mostly only with Surup Damodar, Ramananda Rai, Shiki Mahiti and Madhavi Devi. Otherwise he didn't discuss he didn't go in the public place and discuss these things. Although sometimes also they'd have groups of devotees, just like Rupa Goswami was explaining his drama. So they would discuss, but it's it may not be that everybody can come to that level of understanding of the absolute truth also. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught, or rather his disciples elaborated upon that theme of love of Krishna in separation, following in the footsteps of the damsels of Vrindavan. But it's not that every living being in Vrindavan is a gopi. If everyone was gopi, well, gopi means cowherd girls, those who are coming from cowherd family, looking after the cows. But if there are no cows, if there's no goat, then how can there be gopi? And if there's no grass, then there's no grass for the cows to eat. Or only Krishna. Then where's the fun? Lila means pastimes. Eko bahusyam. One, Krishna is one, but he became many. Why? To enjoy pastimes. This is, see, here is being described the impersonalist conception. That you see everything, but you see it all as one. So in one sense that's not incorrect, because Krishna is all in all, Krishna is everything. But there's difference also. Seeing the difference. Accepting out that in one sense everything was one, but at the same time seeing the essential difference. That is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. Achintya bheda bhed. Everything is one, yes. The Mayavadis say everything is one. Yes, we agree. Everything is one. There's difference also. If you fail to see the difference, then you are Mayavadi, and we hate you. We hate your philosophy. You see the difference. There's also difference. Everything is one. Everything is Krishna. Shakti, Shakti, Matara, Bheda. The energy and the energetic are the same, but not just the same. It's different. You have to see all the different devotees. That's why in our Gauriya Vaishnava Sampradaya we're not very much favoring Miraba. Everyone says she's a great devotee, and alright, we can accept great devotee, but we don't like her very much, her idea. We don't like her because she's only thinking of me and Krishna. Come, Giridhari. Esha in Bengali, they made the Mira song, they translated, Esho, Giridhari. Come here, Krishna, come, I'll enjoy with you. But we don't like that. We want to serve Radha and Krishna together. We don't call Krishna, come, I'll enjoy with you. But rather we want to see how Radha and Krishna are coming together. That's why we call Gauriya Vaishnava. Gauriya Vaishnava, that doesn't mean just because our cult was started in Bengal, which at that time was known as Gaudiya Desh. But Gauriya means specifically who is devotee of Radharani. Vaishnava is a general term. It means devotee of Vishnu. Karshna means devotee of Krishna. And Gauriya means devotee of Radharani. So the Gauriyas, they like to see how Radha and Krishna are joined together. Even then it's not just Radha and Krishna. There's the cows, the trees, the grass, the monkeys, everything. They're all part of the Vrindavan scene. They all join together to give pleasure to Krishna. Eko Brahosyam, one became many, to enjoy pastimes, to enjoy his pastimes. Not impersonal. Not that simply there's some, you chant Om and then you emerge into the chanting of Om and you become some impersonal. No, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om, we offer our respects to the Absolute Truth, who is Bhagavan Vasudeva. So Vasudeva, Krishna, is enjoying with so many different devotees, and they all give pleasure to Krishna, and Krishna gives pleasure to them. This is Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's enjoyment. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught that devotional service enriched with madhurya bhava, sweetness. Devotional service is always sweet. It's not that it's not sweet, it's always sweet. Even when it seems bitter, it made it sweet. Just like it seems from the external point of view that Vamandev was very harsh in treating Bali Maharaj. But actually, if you see those who are devotees, they are sargrahi, rasagrahi, they accept the essence. They don't see that he's very harsh, but they see Bali Maharaj and Vamandev, they're enjoying the ecstasy of the exchange between themselves. It's very, very sweet exchange. So, sweetness pervades all aspects of devotional service. But when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's influence is there, or especially that's called Madhurya Ras, when there is Shringaras, means the exchange in the conjugal relationship, and that is Shringa means in the conjugal relationship, then actually conjugal means married relationship. That's the English word. Prabhupada has used it to mean the male-female relationship, even parakya. Conjugal literally means the swakya, or the married relationship. Prabhupada uses that also for the parakya ras, for the non-married relationship. So sweetness pervades all the pastimes, all the different rasas. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught how to understand Madhurya Prachurja. Madhurya Prachurja. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, when Krishna's pastimes are understood through the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then you can appreciate very great sweetness, because all the pastimes of Krishna, actually they're all centered around him. Krishna's pastimes with the cows, with the cowherd boys, with all the different devotees, they're all enjoying exchange with Krishna, but they also help to facilitate Krishna's pastimes with the gopis and ultimately with Radharani. So that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has revealed that all the pastimes of Krishna are filled with that, especially Vrindavan pastimes are filled with that great sweetness. So it's not that if one is not a gopi, if I don't become a gopi, or if I don't become Radharani, then I'm just cheated. Of course, at our stage we should think how to clean the pots nicely for Krishna. When you're on the highest stage, what do? What's Mother Yashoda doing? She's thinking how to make the nicest offering of food to Krishna. She's doing her housework very nicely, making sure all the pots are clean, there's not even a spot, because everything is for Krishna. So we start with this. By starting off with that service mode, then everything else develops. We're saying that all the rasas are imbued with sweetness, but the beginning is to understand service, because all the rasas are imbued with service. Service or savior bhav, dasya ras, that is the savior bhav, or the mood of serving he who is to be served. Seva bhav. Seva bhav means the mode of service. Savya bhav means to recognize who is he to be served. And then naturally there follows seva bhav, the mood to serve. So that is there in all the rasas. Just like there's a description, earth, water, fire, air, ether. So in all the qualities of earth, we call it, starting from ether, sound, that is there in all the other elements which proceed from it. So similarly, the mood of service is there in all the rasas, and as the mood of service increases, then the rasas are developed. Madhurya bhav means one's mood of service is greatest. So we start off by serving Krishna, that all the Vaishnava Sampradayas. The Vaishnava Sampradayas are considered bona fide inasmuch as they teach service to Krishna. There may be differences in the ultimate conception of who is Krishna and how to relate to him. But all accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality, or Vishnu. They all accept Vishnu, not necessarily Krishna. Although there's no difference between Krishna and Vishnu. But they all accept Vishnu as supreme, and that we are his servants, we should serve him. Therefore they are considered bona fide. If someone's supposed to be a Vaishnava, but he teaches impersonalism, and then he's bogus, even though he may come in a bona fide sampradaya. Or even if someone is from a bona fide Vaishnava sampradaya, but they're they may be reputed and they may have a big title and they may be a formal acharya of a sampradaya, but if they themselves don't have a very strong attitude of service to Krishna and don't train their disciples in a mood of service to Krishna, then we can understand that they haven't really caught the spirit of the sampradaya, which is service. So all these sampradayas are teaching service to Krishna. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught service enriched with ujjvala rasa, the topmost shining mellow of pure devotional service, following in the footsteps of the gopis. So that is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught. But he didn't teach everybody. When he was traveling in South India, for instance, preaching, he didn't sit down with everyone and talk about Madhurya Bhav. He spoke with Ramananda Raya about that. But for people in general, he told, chant Hare Krishna. Why are you wasting your life? Why are you wasting your time? Chant Hare Krishna. Serve Krishna. Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita, Krishna Dhana Pran. Your real mother and father, the wealth of your life is Krishna. It's not meant for teaching to anybody and everybody. Even one may be a devotee in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but not everything may be taught. You have to be, otherwise you have to be ready to hear that. If you may think I'm ready, I should hear these things. But if Guru doesn't see that, then why should he teach? Just like you don't when you first feed a baby, you feed milk, then you give it little rice. Generally you grind that up and make some paste. Then later on, when they become older, then you can give them paratha and so many things. If you give a 2-day-old baby paratha, what will happen? They'll die. Can't digest. If you force into the mouth, they can't digest. So you may think, well, paratha is very good, strong, good food, makes you very strong. If you can't digest it, will kill you. So in the same way, if you try to give that which people are not ready for, then they won't make spiritual advancement. They may perish. Even they may think I'm spiritually advancing, but they're not. They're perishing. So Guru has to see what is the level of the disciple and teaching accordingly. Always bringing him up, bringing him up, bringing him up. Parikshit Maharaj, he was a great devotee. Shukdev also. Shukdev Goswami is appreciating conjugal ras, but he doesn't speak only about this. Hardly he touches from 9 cantos and most of the 10th. Hardly he touches this. There's so many other things to describe about Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, although he was particularly relishing the pastimes of Krishna, very intimate pastimes, and Radharani and Gopis. But we hear also from Chaitanya Bhagavat that he, again and again he heard Srimad Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit, who is the incarnation of Radharani. Again and again from him he heard the stories of Dhruv Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj. So it's not that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wasn't relishing these things. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also relishing Ram Leela. On the Vijayadashami day, we read in Chaitanya Charitamrita how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dressed as Hanuman, and they had some game, some drama, how they're attacking Lanka. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, "Where's that Ravana? Let him come, I'll kill him," in the mood of Hanuman. So all the leelas, they're all relishable, they're all enjoyable. Some of the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they're also great devotees of Lord Ram. Murari Gupta, Anupam, who's the brother of Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis. So it may not be that everyone is instructed in Gopi Bhav. One has to be very elevated. And even if not, all the bhavs, it's not that Krishna says, hey, I don't like you cows, you're all neophyte devotees. Get out of here, you cows. And Krishna loves the cows. In one lecture you'll hear Prabhupada saying that Krishna loves the cows as much as the gopis. It's not that in Krishna's estimation the cows are any less than the gopis. Krishna loves them all. Krishna loves all living beings. How much is our capacity to receive Krishna's love? You may say, I want to love Krishna in this rasa or that. How much is our capacity? Krishna has unlimited capacity to love. We do also. Krishna may give that to us. We're not in the sense that Krishna does, that Krishna can have and does have a direct personal relationship with every living being. That is Krishna's ability, because he's unlimited. Krishna is unlimited, so he can have an intimate loving relationship with every living being. So that's not possible for us. But at least in our relationship with Krishna, there's no limit. It's not that I love Krishna this much, now I have to stop. Okay, I already achieved Krishna, now I already got it, so stop, push, finish. That's the end. It goes on expanding unlimitedly. That is the nature of spirit. So we can also love Krishna unlimited, but practically, how far have we got? How much have we entered into that? That we should see also. So we should also understand what is our level. And even we may, rather than jumping up artificially beyond our level, there's no harm in keeping a humble attitude and acting on it, even if we're on a very high level, which not that many are there. But there's no harm to act even on a little bit of a lower level. Just like we see here, Parikshit Maharaj, he's already far beyond the conception of the impersonal. But he's inquiring in such a way from Shukadeva Goswami for the benefit of others, which further shows what a high level Parikshit Maharaj is on. So he's thinking of the benefit of others. He doesn't immediately say, hey Shukadeva, what about the Ras Leela? He's inquiring step by step. So we also may do the same. We may be very advanced, but that doesn't mean we should give up the basic activities of Krishna consciousness or start acting on some kind of artificially advanced level. Step by step. And then, gradually, as the Guru is pleased with the service, then he may reveal so many things. You may even come, I want to hear more things. Anyone comes like that, the Guru will say, go wash the pots for the next 50 years. Then we'll see. Someone who tried, Prabhupada didn't appreciate this at all, someone who tries to jump up to some so-called higher level which they're not on. Prabhupada didn't appreciate that. Prabhupada was speaking Bhagavad-gita, practical, what we need to understand. Control the senses, control the mind. Why don't you do this? Why are you speaking so many big things? Try to understand, the servant of Krishna. That's very good medicine for us, to hear this again and again. Control the senses, control the mind, have faith in the holy names, have faith in Krishna. Krishna is your friend. You should hear this again and again. Hare Krishna. Is there any question?
It is said now that every live entity has his relationship, particular type of relationship with Krishna, Swarupa.
Yeah.
So,
the question is that a devotee of Lord Ram, they're completely satisfied in that position, so can they elevate themselves generally the devotees of Lord Rama in Dasya Bhav, and some may be in mixed Sakya Bhav also, can they elevate themselves beyond that? Well, it's not necessary. You see, we shouldn't think of these in materialistic terms, that now I'm a clerk in the office, I may get elevated to a section manager, and then I may become the factory manager, then a district manager, and then I might become the chief executive officer. It's not like that. Who is fixed in Ram Bhakti, actual Ram Bhakti, then not only are they completely satisfied, but they're completely perfect in that situation. When we say elevated, it's not that, if we say elevated, that gives the impression that there's something despicable or wrong about some lower position, or that it's somewhat contaminated. But it's not a lower position in the way that we conceive it. It's a fully perfect position. When we say that the position of the gopis is more elevated than that of the monkeys with Lord Ram, we shouldn't understand that in a materialistic way. The monkeys who serve Lord Ram, they're perfectly situated. Transcendence is all perfect. There's no contamination. The same thing, if all the monkeys, they run off to join the Ras Leela, then who's Lord Ram, that's also Krishna in a different form, enjoying in that form, then who's going to be the monkeys? They have no such desire. Srinathe Janakinathe Abheda Paramatmani Tasmat Namasarvasvam Rama Kamalochana. Hanuman says. He says, I know that Lord Ram, he is Narayana. But as far as I'm concerned, I have no desire to serve Narayana as such, but I want to serve Ram in this form.
Shiva, Lord Shiva is also entering Ras Leela.
Shiva is entering in Ras Leela. Well, what have you got to do with Shiva's entering Ras Leela? What's he got to do with you?
What I want to ask now is that they can change rasa in spiritual world devotees to please Krishna.
Change rasa to please Krishna. The whole thing is to please Krishna. The whole idea is to please Krishna. So anything that can please Krishna, that is pleasing, that the devotee is prepared to do. Even if he doesn't want to do it, he'll do it. But generally, why should it be pleasing? Why you think that Krishna wants Mother Yashoda to stop beating him and become a gopi in the Ras Leela? They have their specific position because not only does it fully satisfy them, but it fully satisfies Krishna. The aim is not how I will be fully satisfied, but how Krishna will be fully satisfied. And because Krishna is fully satisfied, then we become satisfied. Yasmin tushte jagat tushta. When we satisfy Krishna, then everyone is satisfied. So anyway, you work on getting to the spiritual world, and then you'll be fully satisfied. You're going to ask something?
What will be the reason for that?
The question is that we see people come into the temple, they're often praying very intensely to Krishna. But the devotees who are living in the temple don't seem to be praying so intensely. The people who are coming, they may have some material desire, but they're very intense. Well, that's recommended. Akama sarva kama va moksha kam udara dhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. That whether one is full of desires, has no desires, or desires liberation, we should engage in devotional service. Tivrena means intensely. We should worship the Supreme Lord. I'll tell a story in this connection. Shruta Kirti Prabhu is Prabhupada's personal servant, traveling with him for some months, maybe 2 or 3 years. Now, once he said to Prabhupada that Srila Prabhupada, wherever we go, because Prabhupada is traveling throughout the world, then devotees, when Prabhupada came to a place, the devotees would have big kirtan, jumping up and down, lots of flowers and tears and so many things. And Shruta Kirti asked Prabhupada once when he was massaging him, he said that Prabhupada, the devotees, when they see you, they become so ecstatic and emotional, but I don't feel like that. What's wrong? Prabhupada said, well, do you like to serve me? He said, yes, Prabhupada, I like serving you. He said, that's very good. That's better than big jumping up and down and show of tears. That's a real expression of love. So they may be very intense, but then they're not actually engaged in Krishna's service. So to serve, that is the actual sign of love. Devotee will see his advancement in the months and years, how he's steadily going on serving Krishna. Not just that someone is doing something very intensely for a short time, and then they got intensely involved in Maya. Someone who's going on steadily serving Krishna, it's pleasing to Krishna. You had a question? Why I'd said that devotional service is always sweet, although it may appear to be bitter. And why is Krishna giving Kunti so many problems? Why is he giving Prahlad so many problems? Why Ambarish had so many problems? Practically all the stories of Bhagavatam are just how devotees are suffering so many difficulties. Well, without difficulties, as Kunti Devi says herself, devotees may not remember Krishna so much. In difficulty we tend to remember God more. That makes the sweetness. Also by contrast, material life is so miserable, so there's nothing but Krishna. You see all these prayers of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Sharanagati, how he's saying how material life is so miserable, like Bhuliya Tomare, Shamshare Ashya. Forgetting you, I came to this material world. So how the very nature of material life is such that we feel such relief when we surrender at the lotus feet of Krishna. Whereas if everything's very comfortable and very nice, we may also remember Krishna, but maybe not so much intensely. That's why it's good also for a devotee to pray that there may be some difficulties, as Kunti did, so that I can remember you more. Or to engage very seriously in service, taking on difficulties. Instead of trying to find some service where everything is very comfortable and I can do it very nicely and easily, if we take up some service which involves some difficulty, then we have to make some sacrifice or some struggle to serve Krishna. That's conducive for our spiritual advancement. Then we'll be praying to Krishna, Krishna, please help me to do this, to perform this service very nicely. That's an interesting question. The sages in the forest of Dandakaranya, they wanted to associate with Lord Ram, and he blessed them that in this life I'm Ekapatni Vrata. I've taken the vow only to have one wife. So you can associate with me when I come again as Krishna. But then when Shurpanaka, sister of Ravana, wanted to enjoy first of all with Ram, and then Ram said, well, I have my wife with me, but Lakshman, he's alone, because Lakshman had left his wife behind. So you can associate, but that wasn't appreciated. Why? Why didn't he give the chance, as he gave the chance to the sages? Well, one thing is that first of all, Shurpanaka, she wanted to enjoy Ram at the expense of Sita. First of all, she deprecated Sita and said, who is this useless, ugly woman? And she was threatening to kill her. So her mood was the wrong mood from the very beginning. It wasn't a service mood. She was thinking how to enjoy Ram instead of how to serve him. Because she was Rakshasi, she's of that svabha. The same thing. Ravana wanted to enjoy Sita, so Shurpanaka wanted to enjoy Ram. Therefore she was rejected. Whereas the sages at Dandakaranya, they didn't want to enjoy Ram, they wanted to serve Ram. Therefore their plea was accepted. Whereas Shurpanaka's was not, she was rejected.
According to our position, the exact benefit.
What type of service do we have to engage in so we get exact benefit? Any service that we're asked to do. Menial service is very good, especially for newcomers. Menial service. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, if any newcomer came, he may be very educated, but he would immediately, if anyone said they wanted to come and join, he would immediately say, go clean all the pots. You can help with this. That is very good for cleaning the heart. Otherwise, sometimes you see people come, they never engage in any menial service, and they become they study so many books, and they learn the philosophy, but it's superficial. And the first thing you have to pick up the mood of service, you have to give up the false pride that I'm such a great person of this material world. So menial service is very good. Clean the floors, wash the pots, all this kind of thing.
Only one more. In which mood?
In which mood should a preacher preach? Well, there are various moods. The underlying mood is one of compassion for the conditioned souls. Preaching is also done as a sense of duty, because we are ordered to do so. It's also done with the sense that we want to change the whole rotten society. There are various perspectives of a preacher, that he wants to establish Krishna as the absolute truth. But the underlying mood is one of compassion for the conditioned souls, service to the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. These are the basic principles of preaching.